mics.
Yeah.
And that snack.
So we're
Dude, yeah.
so we're going right now.
Yeah.
That's legit.
So even the smack matters.
Dude, the smack doesn't matter.
I love it, dude.
More than you think
That's
it
their new. That'll be our first. That'll be our first branded T-shirt.
Smack
Smack
matters.
Smack matters.
I like it. But I saw this thing where this, I don't know where it was, TikTok or LinkedIn or something. And it was like a recruiter, and she's like, if you're applying for jobs that you meet like 90% of the criteria, you're overqualified. And I was thinking about like, well,
What's the percentage?
I apply to jobs that I'm like, yeah, I meet all this, I can do this role. That's what I apply to.
Yeah.
But I've never thought like, oh, I'm about 30% of what they're looking for. But I get it. Like if I'm hiring somebody, like a teller at a bank, and they're like, well, I can't really sell. I don't really have cash handling stuff, blah, 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 whatever the things are. But I'm like, well, you're personable. I think I could teach you the rest of the stuff.
Especially
I'd
if it's
much
like an
rather have
entry-level
that
position.
than somebody that comes in that's like, I know how to count. I know how to handle customer complaints, blah, blah, blah.
Well, the worst hires were always the ones that had like experience.
Yeah.
And you had to teach them out of all the bad habits.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easier to, like, you can't teach personality.
All
The
right,
good
I've
news is
inspired
my current
myself
my current role, I'm at like 1%
Yeah.
of what I need to know, but it's also enough. It is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
One
let's
day.
go, man.
Cool. Well, episode 1 of hopefully like a couple thousand.
That's right, man.
But then at that point, someone else will do all the editing and all that stuff.
Veterans Day,
Yeah, Veterans Day.
November 11th.
is
I did for Veterans Today. I did a workout in honor of a veteran. It's called Chad.
What did you do?
So the prescribed workout is 1,000 step-ups on a box that's 20 inches tall with a 45-pound vest. But because I'm old and have fake hips, I just did 500 with no vest. But me with no vest is...
Dude, you
like,
did 500?
So it's kind of the same.
Yeah, my legs are pretty tired. But it's kind of interesting because
What's
it's like...
the story behind the Chad?
Yeah, so Chad was a vet. He got PTSD and he killed himself. And so his wife started a foundation that's called Step Up. That's why you do the steps.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And it's pretty interesting. And now we're at the brink of war again, and we're going to probably get into a lot of that on this thing. And I just think about all the freaking people that are chewed up by the machine, and we don't even know what's true, what's not true. And it gets really messed up because maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. But this guy was probably right, and then he comes home and can't even take care of his family, so he kills himself. So,
God, dude, that sucks.
yeah, that's one cool thing about the CrossFit community is always really cool about is they call them hero wads, and so they have all these fallen heroes, but then they have a workout that either they did when they were alive or it's in honor of them. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Because then you're like really sore. Like I'm really sore today, but so every time I'm sore, I'm like I'm alive.
Right. Yeah.
It's a cool like mindset.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
It'd be weird to be really good at something in war, like they train you to do all this stuff, and then you come home and you have all these skills
And not all of them like
that don't apply to like a corporate office.
Well, additionally,
like, oh,
you're used to actually high stakes, and then you're like coming home and you're like, even the stuff that we think of as high stakes, they're like this is low
my
stakes.
presentation, honey.
Yeah.
Like I'm so nervous.
Well, and so much of like what they do is like it's like 90% anticipation. They're just anticipating like something's gonna happen, and then it's like 1% of like high adrenaline, scary stuff, and then it's like, okay, we're going back to anticipating everything, and then you go to a corporate office where it's like, oh, all I gotta do is like fill this out,
Or no one will hire you.
Yeah.
And you have all these freaking, you're like the top 1% in like all these other skills, but it's kind of messed up. It'd be nice when we have the joyful peace of the Savior.
There you go.
Yeah.
Seriously though.
Yeah, for
I know.
sure.
I shot guns all day today,
Dude, that sounds fun.
which was a lot of fun. Yeah.
We need to get the connect the dots shooting trip.
That'll be like an episode we do.
Yeah, that'd be a blast.
I'll watch you
Philly,
guys.
do you shoot guns? No, that'd be even funnier then.
Oh, it'd be so good.
Like I can't so scouts obviously like you have gun, and I was always really good at shooting the clay pigeons.
Oh, okay.
Because that's like
Some
like
skeet
a video game. You're
Honestly, clay pigeons, in my opinion, that's my favorite shooting.
It is
the
a lot of
shotgun
fun.
it just feels killer when you shoot it, and I don't know, and then
Clay pigeon shooting's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I've done that.
Or
level.
shooting a 50 cal. You don't have a 50 cal, do you?
No.
So a guy in my ward
Eventually.
just bought one. It didn't even have the metal sights or anything. But we took the boys, young men. I guess they aren't Boy Scouts anymore. The young men up to
That's the gun that's like on
the top
people
of the
like
Humvee.
put it on like Toyotas.
Well,
and
it's
stuff.
like
Well, the
it's
bullets,
Iraq.
the bullets
bullets are
like
huge, dude. Like big around as my thumb and like that.
yeah. And so we were
Like
laying.
it'll just like stop vehicles.
Yeah, that sounds painful. To
So we're
shoot.
laying down, and I was like filming the boys when they'd shoot them,
And then
and
they'd roll
it's
over
like
and there's-
it's like their body like kind of like compresses from the shoulder down. They're laying down, and it's super cool, and it makes everyone go whoa. You know, it's like you're at a rock concert in a weird way.
Yeah.
When it fires,
That's the kind
and
of
it's
gun
different
that,
than the other guns.
Someone can shoot it and be like 20, 30 feet away.
Yeah.
And then when it goes off, you feel it like in your chest. Like it shakes your body. Like boom. And you're like, oh.
Yeah,
It's
I can't
intense.
even believe they have like fully automatic ones and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just-
So wait, that like you asked Daniel if he has one.
yeah,
Like you could just
Yeah. You can just
buy
go buy
a-
one.
you can buy one.
What's
They're
it
just
called?
expensive.
50 caliber.
Yeah,
Well, the thing is, like, those guns, dude, you're shooting like $10 around. And that's like entry level.
man.
You start getting into stuff.
if you have an
like,
actual bullet that's good, yeah, they're a lot.
Yeah, it's expensive. Like, it's expensive enough to be like an active, like going out and shooting like once a month, which I don't even do. I wish I
Yeah.
could. I'll get there. But yeah, it's expensive. Like today, probably in the ammo that I shot, and I was like conservative,
yeah.
it was probably like $100-$200 of ammo I shot today.
Jeez.
I know my kids are like,
Even 22 shells.
can I
are
shoot
expensive
more? I'm
now.
like, no,
Even 22
I'm not
shells.
shooting
are-
anymore. Yeah, dude.
That's why
seriously.
every person that wants to take his family shooting needs to have a 22 6-shooter revolver.
Yeah, and you
Because
can
then
be
it's
out
like
all day.
Then you're like plink, 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 and then you're like pull the bullets
I
out.
gotta reload.
The kids are reloading. It takes like
Seriously, though.
that's the secret right there, dude.
No,
And
it really
they're
is.
actually pretty fun too.
Yeah, we have a 22, and that's what the boys shoot a ton. It's fun. We'll do that. We'll take you shooting, and I'll have you shoot
That'd be cool.
like, some legit guns, some real guns.
I'm up for it.
Okay, dope. Well, let's get to the episode.
All right.
Let's do it.
We've developed several ciphers.
was murdered in Dallas, Texas. He was shot by a sniper hiding in a building near his.
Holy fuck!
A bizarre flash occurs, and the plane has vanished. Upon
WEF is an organization.
Ignition. Fly away, Houston. Vector good. Bye-bye, fly.
Let's start off with introductions. Episode 1. So we need to introduce yourselves. I'm Daniel.
Okay.
I don't-
I'm Travis.
I'm fielding.
Yeah, and I guess they're gonna figure out what our expertise
That's not his last name, so don't Google it.
Yeah.
His parents were doing ayahuasca or something.
Yeah. I want to do that so bad. Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I have to.
Because
know
I
that,
just
dude.
want to like.
I
don't
know
even know what that
someone.
is.
I won't say who it is because it's a secret. But someone close to me did it, and
Is that the
their
stuff you have to
life
go-
is changing.
It's something that like you go. I don't know. People go like different countries to do it. It's probably illegal in America,
It is.
but you
Isn't that
go.
like a
it's
South
like
America thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you drink it and then it's like this experience basically where like your conscious and like subconscious like separates and then you can interact. And
You ever seen Young
like,
Guns?
No.
It's an old '90s movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
got Emilio Estevez and freaking Charlie Sheen,
I'm writing it down.
and it's like Billy the Kid, but he's a good guy, and that's Emilio Estevez. Anyway, and this half Mexican, half Indian takes him out, and they're like, we've got to figure this out, so we got to go on a vision quest.
Yeah.
And so they go, and he finds these like cow turds, and on these cow turds, these little mushrooms, and he makes a tea, and they all drink it.
God, that sounds nasty.
And it's the funniest episode.
Yeah.
It's the funniest part of the movie, but basically that's what we're talking about is that you get this, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like DMT, right? But it's dimethyl trichlorine or something.
Yeah.
And like people talk about it like they've done experiments with it where like 3 people have done it and they've all seen the same person in there.
Yeah, like totally not like they don't know each other or anything. They're multiple things. They've done it, and people go and like communicate with the same like entity or
and
same
talk about
being.
like the same things, dude.
And so like it's something that's like the veil thins, and then you like one of the first like guards.
Like it could be when. So here's a
You
trippy.
meet, and it's
here's
like-
a trippy thought. This someone came up, and this was through some religious person. So the burning bush with Moses. There's a tree in all over the like Arabian Peninsula.
Right.
That its bark contains this.
So the burning bush
Could have been
what made him see. And okay, all right, I see. Your
I love that. I love that stuff.
We need to dive into that.
Yeah,
one.
and you could say that he was just tripping, but maybe a better way to say it is that that's the way you cross into the
a
other
different
realm.
plane.
I've never thought that, because even with all the crazy like conspiracies and stuff, I love getting a different angle on a lot of that like stuff. Because you look at religion, it's like religion by itself is kooky.
Yeah.
So if you take, which I've always said, you take spirituality out of like religion, like it's pretty cool like concept, and it's a thing that's repeated over every civilization, the same archetype. And so it's like, well, there's got to be some truth there. So then you put in like spirituality where people are feeling these things and it like rings true or it doesn't. Like there's so much cool stuff that's like, yeah, that's probably
My
how it happened.
my personal way I reconcile is this: you have these two arcs. You have like the science,
Right.
and you have like the spirituality. And maybe some people think it was like voodoo, hoodoo, you know, the religion-y weirdos, whatever. But actually, what they are is they're just both traveling to the same point,
yeah.
and they are the same thing.
Yeah.
Science and religion are the same, in my opinion. And someday we'll figure out.
It's almost like science is how all the religious stuff happens. We just don't have a higher understanding of what
Right.
that science is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty easy, and not allegory. I don't want to use words that I don't understand. But a pretty easy example is like if we were to go back, even to like the 1800s, and somehow we were able to explain.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I couldn't do it, but someone that could explain a cell phone and how it works,
Right.
and invent that technology in the 1800s, you would seem magical.
Well, there's like a story from
they'd
it's
probably
like
kill you.
India or something like that, and they talk about this person that could travel like all over the cities like instantly, and they had like a mirror that they would look at, and they could see like a waterfall or something. There's like not a waterfall around the town, and so it's like, well, yeah, that could just be like a technology they didn't understand.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's the same thing as like going back to like biblical times where they're like, oh, there was like this burning wheel in the sky.
yeah,
And you're like, oh, it's a UFO.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to like beat this to death, but even I'm almost 50. If you went to Travis in like 4th grade and you handed him this and told me what it could do, I remember I was in a computer class in elementary school, and it was like one of those, you know, the big green screen that had the keyboard was literally the same plastic that this monitor was in. You know what I'm talking about?
like the Apple things.
Yeah.
Dude, you're not that old.
And you're like, and it was just the green with the cursor, and so we'd punch codes in. And I remember my project was we had to make a picture, and I'm like, for some reason, I chose to make a picture of an RV, which in hindsight, I'm like, why did I pick an RV, dude?
Your teacher's just like,
It's like
This kid
so it's
knows
a
how to
big
party.
It's like a big motor home. Everyone else is making like, you know,
Beautiful
astronauts
scenes.
and like landscapes, and I'm like an RV. But I mean, so even that, even in my lifetime, so I think if you stretch that over eternity,
Yeah.
you're going to be. I think we're going to be pretty amazed when we finally see the nature of God.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty eye opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll take a lot of time to digest everything that is.
Yeah. So I guess that's my way of saying that we're probably going to talk about some stuff that might sound anti-religious. I don't believe it is.
Yeah. No,
It's
I
all-
think it ties
It's all
in.
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you look at like life, and I've said this before with you guys, like there's like in religion people talk about like afterlife. There's still stuff going on, and you'll still like teach people the gospel after you die.
Right.
And to me that's always like, oh, so then it's not like you die and then you wake up and it's like, oh, I know everything. It must be some sort of thing where you like pass on and then you're like, whoa, that was crazy. Like this thing that we were living on and that experience, but then there's other stuff that's happening that you're still progressing towards something. So
Right.
like life is just like, yeah, that
It's like a
what that word, that's word you say that you didn't want to use. What was it?
What? An allegory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I get like
allegorical.
like metaphors, allegories, and similes. Like,
Yeah.
I always have to look them up.
So I'm not going to say what the word is because I
Okay.
can't remember what it is. But it's that thing where they show like a string and they take it across a
Yeah.
football field and then they tie a little tiny knot in the center.
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
that's your life on earth, and against.
I think that would be a simile. But hey, if
We can
anyone
fact check
watches
it
this
later.
episode, please leave it in the comments and smash that like button.
Smash that like
Smash. Oh man, it's too
Depends
good.
on what platform, if there is a
Yeah,
like
or hit the Rumble button.
The Rumble.
I don't know what
Rumble
it's
key.
called.
We need to learn the Rumble language.
Yeah,
but-
we'll figure it out.
So I appreciate what Rumble's up to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for real. Okay, let's do highs and lows
Okay.
for the past week. I'll start off.
Okay.
Okay, this one. Okay, so I thought about it all week because I knew that we were going to do highs and lows.
Okay.
So this is like a low but a high at the same time. Okay. So my 7-year-old struggles to go to school. Okay. So when COVID happened, we homeschooled him because we were like, no, I'm not sending my kid to school to be like in a mask and not do anything fun. So we're like, let's homeschool him. We homeschooled him. And then COVID stuff kind of went away. And then we're like, all right, do we put him back in school? We asked our kids. They're like, yeah. So we put him back in school. And they're like, no, we like homeschool more. So we put him in homeschool. Okay. So I'm like, all right, the school district's probably like thinks we're crazy. Mm-hmm. And then this year started and they're like, no, we want to go to school. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, all right, fine. So they go to school and then my youngest has just been struggling. So I have like this dad moment where I'm like, you got to go to school, son. It's your responsibility. It's time to teach him a lesson. So I'm like forcing him to go to school. And he's freaking out. Like I'm putting him in the back of the car. He's screaming. My wife has to get in the back of the car with him.
How old is he?
He's 7. First grade. So she's like having to hold him because when I got him in the car, he just beelined it out the other side and then took off around the car and went back inside. So then I had to like chase him. I go get him. And then I'm like, I tell my wife, like, gotta come with me and hold him so we can force him to go to school because he needs to learn.
Yeah.
So then we take him.
That's the right way to handle it.
Yeah.
Because it's 1950.
Yes. Okay. Hold on. The story's not over.
No.
There's more coming. There's more coming. So then I take him to school. Okay. And I'm like forcing him the entire time. He's not happy. He's crying. He's all emotional. And now I'm gonna force him to go into the class with all of his friends with his eyes all teary-eyed. Yeah. So then
It's turning out to be a bad day in his life.
Yeah. I'm just like emotionally scarring him. So then I get him. I'm like kneeling down with him, and he's like, he like finally gets to the point where he's like, okay, I'm gonna have to go into class. Like Dad's gonna make me. So he's like wiping his eyes, and he's like, Dad, I need you to help me stop crying. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, let's take a couple deep breaths. So we take a couple deep breaths, and he's like, all right, how do my eyes look? Do I look like I've been crying? And I'm like, of course. I'm like,
No.
good dad. I'm like, no, you look fine, son. And he goes into class, okay? I go get in the truck, and my wife's in there. And
In the
I'm
truck.
In the truck waiting for me.
Okay.
I get in. She's still sitting in the back because that's where she was, holding him in there.
She's also probably a little afraid of you at that point, too.
Yeah, right. Because I'm being such a great dad.
Yeah. She's like, I don't want to catch any of that.
So I sit in the truck, and I'm like, start bawling. Because I realized what a terrible father I just was. So then we drive over to our little favorite drink place, Quench It. We get our drinks. And then we get in, and my wife's not really say anything. And I'm like telling her, I'm like, dude, being a parent's so hard. So then I'm like, all right, turn around, go back to the school. Keep in mind, I went into the office. My kid's crying. I'm checking him in, and I'm like frustrated.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, I'm back at the school checking him out. And he comes in, and I'm like, you want to be homeschooled? He's like, yeah, I don't want to go to school anymore. I was like, dope, we're homeschooling you. So now I get him in the truck, drive him home, apologize, and now we're homeschooling him again.
Dude, what a stud. That is awesome. Good for you.
So it was a high and a low. It was
Well,
a low point. Like
You know what? Kids are so resilient that you can really F up. And if you don't sweep it under the rug and you admit it, then you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now let me guess. You were probably treated similar to how you were.
Oh,
you
yeah.
probably didn't get away with what you were figuring he was getting away with.
Yeah. No. And that's the thing is like,
you learned how you said it.
Yeah.
He needs to learn. He needs to go to school.
yeah.
You learned.
Because that was like the way our parents were raised, right? And that like comes down, and like there's parts of me that still like that's how I was raised, and so it's like that's how I'm gonna raise my kids. But I'm getting better at breaking away from like, okay, this is how I was raised, this is how it made me feel. These are some of the positives that I got from it.
Yeah, right.
And then it's like transitioning into like,
That's where it really gets kind of effed up, where you're like my experience with I've been in a similar like journey. It's almost like you have to trade. It isn't like that was wrong, this is right. It's like,
right.
It's like, now how do I supplement the things that I learned the hard way into this way that maybe seems easier, even though it probably isn't, and then still raise. It's almost like here's my new thing: shitty kids, great adults. That's my freaking thing. People can judge me when I have these kids that are freaking out of control. Yeah, but I want kids that will like treat their wife right.
Yeah.
Right.
Treat their children right, and not have a bunch of emotional baggage they have to unpack when they're adults.
Right.
So, freaking good job.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What about you, feeling? What was your high and low for the week?
Yeah, you actually hit it high and low. Dude.
Yeah, it's kind of the same story. I was trying to think of a different one, but it really was
Yeah.
a high and a low. Because then after that, just the last little piece.
Even harder to admit you're wrong, though. I mean, that's freaking huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
think about like the turnaround time too. That's like what 10 minutes that
Yeah.
you're like thinking about it.
And he was like shocked. He was like, I'm getting checked out. And then I just told him I was
The
like,
connection you made with him, dude.
yeah. The best part though, the highest part was like, it was cool going back and getting him and letting him know that like, you want to be homeschooled, we're going to homeschool you. But the cool part was like, I didn't have any work that day. We took the day off and I like picked him up, went home, turned on the TV and we watched like TV and like snuggled and hung out. And we played Xbox and stuff. So it was cool.
A
Cool.
good memory.
It was cool. Yeah.
You think about like from a kid's point of view, like what does that look like? Because I think I'll do like things like that where I fly off the handle because that's like what's natural. And then it doesn't work and you think like, why am I screaming at him? He's not listening. And so let me get through different, like from the kid's point of view, it's like dad's screaming at me.
Right.
And then now he's not. And now he's like talking level headed. I wonder if that also shows the kids as they grow up that it's like okay for them to feel certain ways and know that those like emotions are okay. You can feel that way, but how do you like respond? Because they watch you react to things, and then after reacting, coming back and then like responding in a way that you're like, I would, I should have done this or whatever.
Right.
I wonder if that shows them, then it makes them a little more like well-rounded as they move forward.
That's the whole point, because one thing's for sure, they will suffer. Life's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then you're going to feel all these ways, like how are you going to act?
Yeah.
So,
I remember I
yeah.
told you years ago that I like wasn't going to put my kids in public schools. I'm like, no way, no, I'm not going to put them in schools. And you're like, they should go to public school because life is going to be difficult. And that's social hierarchy and all that stuff. And I think about that a lot. Like we have a neighbor that had a kid that would go to school and very similar experience. He just hated it. His teachers were mean, like students were mean, and they put him in like a charter school where he is actually more taught like his level of understanding. And so they told us, we took my kid there, and well, like the teacher will drop us off. We're like, hey, how's that? And she's like, it's good, you know. And then she'll say like a fit that he had, but it's not like he was punished and put in timeout that he had the year previous. Like now it's still just like they talk it through, which I don't know. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
That they get that experience, because I think a lot of us didn't.
You know, you can go. I think it's just there's no one size fits all. Like our kids are in public school, and
Right.
and I'm fine with that. And also, it's fine to not. But my wife did have to like go hard at the administrations, and we had to switch schools, and like she wrecked some people. Like, I mean, honestly, it was like I was like, whoa. Dude. She's like telling them, you know, this kid's struggled enough, and you guys aren't fulfilling your part of it, and so why would I put him here where you're gonna, you know, just right to their faces, and I'm like, good job, honey. Yeah. Way to be a warrior. But I think it's true. I mean, you just got to always play by ear and play your gut. So
Yeah.
Well, I think
That's
20 years ago, like knowing a homeschool kid, they were like a weirdo.
Now it's more common.
And now it's like the ones that are better prepared to handle situations, the ones that have better education.
I would say this,
like they're the ones that homeschool.
COVID made homeschool like
Big deal.
well, and also the tools.
Right.
I'm looking at your homeschool tools.
Yeah.
Way better than anything I ever had in school.
Well, and they showed them the crazy things.
And you
that
could
they
even
were doing.
socialize. You could even meet other homeschoolers, and then there's like
Yeah.
There's
after
like
school
co-ops
activities.
and
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff now.
So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Those are high and low.
High and low, probably just kind of the same thing, but more of that. So last time we got together, I got this really like $3 like DoorDash thing from where we lived to this really far away place, and I drove, and I was really mad about it, and I like try and like be thankful for the person's name, like thank you for the purchase or whatever, because it's like a little bit of money, you know, and
Right.
times are hard. And so drive out there, but I'm like really mad about it. And then I got like 45 minutes later, I got a Del Taco order that was like $4, but I was close to where it was, and so I got it, brought it over, and then that person like sent me an extra like I don't know $7 or something, so it made the whole thing like $10, and had like a really nice message. It was just like, hey man, keep up the good work, like appreciate you, and it meant so much to me. And I was like, why am I like getting emotional over this? Like, but you're doing something, and it's you feel like it's extra, and it's all this work, and it's gas and all this, and so then just somebody's like random kindness was so cool. So I was more aware of that moving forward, and trying not to get so swept into the back and forth, but it made me much more aware this time around that the kindness of people, I was like, I saw it more, where before I was like, wasn't looking at it that way. And now anytime I have an interaction with them, I feel like it's a much better interaction. I'm much more happy about it, and it's really just like my point of view has changed on how I view it, where I'm like grateful for the experience, grateful for the interaction.
Kind of interesting the power that random person had. They may not even realize the power.
No, I'm sure.
And now
it was
that
just like nothing.
like the generations that could be affected by it, and it makes you almost kind of like,
yeah,
geez, I probably need to be less judgmental. Probably nobody's doing DoorDash that's like just nailing it.
Well,
I mean, they're like totally secure.
Yeah.
They everything's dialed in, and they're like, you know what I want to do the freaking night? Not hang out with my family. I'd prefer to go deliver strangers food.
Yeah, I'll get a text that's like, hey, an extra $1 now because it's busy, and it's like prime time with like your family, and so you're like, well, yeah, I'll go take that. But it's a different breed of people. Like I'm social, so I like to talk to people and visit.
Right.
And I'm like waiting with other like DoorDashers, and I'll try and have conversations with them. no, they don't want to visit.
They're
And
like,
I'm just
"We
like,
do
how
this."
long you been door dashing? Like, and they just don't want to
They're
talk.
like, dude, get away from me.
Yeah, and
so
last night I was door dashing in Orem, and I went into a Taco Bell, and there was this guy that was like picking up food, had the DoorDash bag stuff labeled on it, and he was picking up, and then I come in, I'm like, hey, pick up for Smith or whatever the name was, and the guy's like, okay, we're working on it. It's just a couple minutes, we're running behind, and I was like, hey, no worries, dude, that's cool, I'll just hang out, and he was like, hey man, have a soda. And he like gave me a drink, and I was like, oh, thanks, man. And then
probably
the other DoorDasher was like, that's cool. Like, I didn't get a drink. And I was just like,
Hey,
Oh.
express chill vibes, bro.
yeah. I'm just like, got my drink, just sat there like, thanks. But I'm like, just,
All right.
it's
What,
like,
what drink did you get with your free?
Yeah, that's important.
dude, first I clarified. I was like, oh, thanks, a water cup, you know. And he was like, no, you put whatever in there. I was like, okay.
You tricking me again.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you gotta pick your own.
Yeah.
I ain't going to jail again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going back. He was like, yeah, have a drink. And so I was like, oh, thanks, man, a water cup. And he was like, oh, no, put whatever you want in there. So it was like an actual like soda cup. Dude, I'm at Taco Bell. What else am I going
Oh,
to
hold
get?
on.
Oh,
Baja
Baja
Blast.
Blast. Yeah.
Baja Blast.
It's so
dude.
good.
Did
Yeah.
you do Baja Blast 0 or just the 100% like Baja Blast? I've got to that point in my life where it's like, I'm gonna get Baja Blast, but I gotta get the 0 because if not, I'm gonna feel guilty about it.
I'm not at
Don't
that
even get
point
me started,
yet.
dude.
I'm not at that point yet. My wife
Hence
just
the,
recently.
The diet, not sponsored.
Yeah, no way.
Sorry, I'm gonna hide the
way.
label.
My wife
Don't wanna-
bought a Fresca because they're like whatever Frescas are.
Yeah.
Like 0 sugar or something like
And
that.
you-
Fresca's good though.
Yeah, Fresca's
Well, yeah,
good.
and that was like the first one, and I was like, this isn't bad. Like, I think this could replace my crippling Sprite addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like,
Oh, Sprite's gross, dude. I can't do Sprite unless it's McDonald's Sprite.
Sprite's
Well,
bomb, dude.
he's obviously, a big LeBron James fan. So that's why he drinks it.
Well,
Yeah,
I support
absolutely.
all the
The urban.
urban communities and. But yeah, it was like it wasn't bad. My wife's like, well, that's because like Prime's all over YouTube, so my kid's just
Dude,
like taking it in.
a
So
guy
anytime you
in
go to
my
the
ward-
store, he's like, Dad, you gotta get a Prime, and I'm like, okay, and it's like sugar free, and I'm just like,
They've marketed
I'm
that so
drinking
good.
Yeah,
Dude, all my kids, that's all they want is Prime.
Yeah.
I did like the
One of
Prime
the-
sports drinks. They tell me I need Prime energy drinks.
At our,
It's amazing.
I'm like, dang, dude, they targeted
they nailed it.
8-year-olds.
They
and it
nailed
worked.
it, and it's over because those people. That's like they will drink that for 50 years. That's
Yeah.
I mean, dude,
Yeah.
Anyway, don't give me. I don't want to go into that. But a kid in my ward dressed up like a Prime bottle for Halloween,
Oh, dude, he probably
I was like-
slammed.
and it was like, oh, it's like the best. It was
Yeah.
like
The best
Oh, you're a
costume.
mummy, Prime bottle.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, what a world we live in.
Man.
I have a side question on that. So Halloween costumes. What is when you go to like a Halloween? Let's go to a Halloween start over.
Trunk or treat.
Yeah, back up.
Let's say you're going to a Halloween party.
Got
Okay.
it.
Adults only or
Sure,
Okay.
sure, doesn't matter.
Okay. Right.
And there's a costume competition, right?
Got it.
There's people that made costumes, and then there's people that have like all gone decked out, and they've got like they buy like the thing so they like look perfectly like the customer or the character.
like
Alright.
yeah, I knew a guy like that once.
So, do you think the people that made the costume or the people that like purchased the costume
Should win.
Or-
should win? Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I guess like more of the questions like what when you think about that because I have my opinion.
that's an interesting
But I've talked
thought.
to different people and I've gotten lots of different responses. And
That's an
I'm
interesting
like,
thought because
oh,
my one thought
think about it
is
weird.
my one thought is like, well, which one looks the most like it? But then
Right.
then my second thought is like, there should be some forethought, effort, energy awarded, so that if you kind of cobble a costume together, but then it looks really like it, then that would be that.
Yeah.
Everything else being equal, I would go with the homemade one. But I guess if it's homemade but it looks kind of homemade, I might lean towards the bot one. Now this all goes out the window because if it's a sexy X,
Yeah.
any sexy whatever costume, I'm voting for that one.
That seems fair.
Yeah, I mean.
That's how I feel when
Okay.
anybody puts a costume
Yeah.
with like the cat ear things.
Yeah.
I'm always like, they're instantly trying to make it sexy.
Yeah.
And I had a manager one time and I told him that, and he was like, that's not true at all. Why would you think that? And then I was like,
No, it's
am I-
100%
I'm
true.
like, am I like a weirdo? And then I was talking to a female manager and she was like, well, you're the age of like Mean Girls, and Mean Girls did that
No,
whole
it's like-
thing
it's the
where they
same-
had the costume, and she's like, "That's what it's tied to." And I was like, "Oh yeah,
any
probably."
animal ears. It could be bunny ears. It could be bear ears. It could be dog ears.
Yeah.
If a female during Halloween
Because there's like that House Bunny
puts
movie.
a fuzzy like furry animal's ears on, it's 100% play to be like sexy.
Okay,
But here's
that's what I
the-
thought, and then they like ridiculed me like I was a weirdo, and I'm
No,
like,
because okay,
guys, I'm just
back up.
saying, this
It
is
wouldn't
weird to
be-
see said person dressed like that,
Yeah.
and they were like, that's not weird at all. And I was like, don't box me out, dude. Like,
The only time that it's not a play to be sexy if it's a full bodysuit costume,
Right.
right? Like a mascot, right?
Like a
yeah,
furry.
yeah. Like,
But
no,
then,
'cause
but
furries-
then
No.
it's actually a certain niche may
Yeah.
find that really attractive.
yeah. So then you've
Not me.
you've
I'm glad you clarified.
exited the orbit.
That whole thing to
At that
me
point.
with the furry thing is really disconcerting because my children's costumes traditionally have been those like
Types
a
of
full
costumes.
zip up. It's warm, you know,
Yeah,
you throw
yeah.
your kid, and then they're in a raccoon suit, and then you get to keep it, and then the kids grow up because I have a
Well, it's like Christmas
235
Story
kids
when
or
he's
something,
got the
and they
bunny
grow up, yeah, and then-
jammies.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I would, you know, you're not supposed to judge people and stuff, but if I was in a hiring situation, that would be a good interview question. Like, are you into the furry community?
I will
Yeah.
That's
say,
an automatic no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Let's say 80% of them are going to be fine, but 20% of the furry community is going to be real troublesome.
Yeah.
what would your feedback be when you call them and tell them like, hey, sorry, we're not going to hire you?
If I lived in a free country,
I was gonna say the size of the company you work
yeah,
for matters.
If I lived in a free country, I would just tell them, I go, look, you obviously had past trauma. You need to get a therapist.
Yeah.
After you get those issues resolved,
Yeah. Give me a call.
Yeah.
I'll give you a
Reapply.
referral to someone else. But, you know, in our society, it's like, just like when I was fired from my last job, it's like, hey, philosophical differences.
Yeah.
He's got it. No one can say the truth anymore because
Yeah.
the truth does not set you free.
Yeah.
No.
In our America.
It binds you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It binds you. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Anyway, but that's my
That's
thoughts
a big
on
one, dude.
costumes.
I mean, that's Halloween costumes, but then reference back. That's a great story about how we can impact people's lives through tiny. I mean, $7.
yeah.
Which honestly, anymore, $7 isn't even that much, right? So,
No.
I mean, it used to be that would have been a freaking big
But
deal.
the act of kindness and
yeah, it really wasn't. It was
Yeah.
more like just the message, and it meant
it meant
just
something
meant
to you.
so much, and,
Yeah.
and it was such a silly thing, but it's changed like how I'm trying to look at things when interacting. And so your story about like with your kid, I was like, man, that hit home for me because there's so much of my interaction with my kid that I just go into instinct mode, which is like I yell, you know, because it makes sense and it's natural, and
Right.
I'm like looking at him while I'm yelling at him, and as I'm yelling at him, I'm like, he's not listening. Like
He can't listen.
yeah, like
Like, none of us really can. If you're getting yelled at,
It's
I
like
mean,
yeah.
instant defensive mode.
Yeah.
You shut it off.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so then it,
It
you
is
know,
a
and
form
I'm
of
like,
mind control, I guess. I mean, you can use yelling and you can push people past it to where then they turn that part off, but that's abuse.
Well, I was gonna say there's
So
people,
it's like-
there's people that
it's-
Yeah.
respond to that.
Like
I-
military does that, but they do it on purpose because they're going
Yeah.
to have situations that are so high stakes that they can't have you thinking. I mean, there's really a
and they
psychology
will
to
be
it.
like
Yeah.
yelling like that, and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that's normal. But yeah, day to day stuff.
Yeah.
What's yours, Travis? What's your highs and lows?
You know, I have a couple in the family department, but I'll probably save them. I went to Baltimore for a conference for work, and it's a newer job. I feel like I'm a little in over my head because it's a high skill job.
Right.
But it was cool to see so many other people that are in it. They've been in it for a long time. And there was two things that they all really like doing: making money and helping people. And depending on who it was, it'd be in one order or the other.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. The surprising part was a lot of these business owners, most of them, it was helping people that really kept them in it for the long term.
Right.
Because in what I do, there's a lot they could move to another industry and make good money, but they just like it because it's got freedom. They're helping people.
Right.
And that was pretty cool. And it was cool to see the people I work with directly and the way they interacted with everybody and stuff. They seem to, they genuinely care about what they do. So not as like touchy-feely as maybe some of my other stories I have, but we already hit that pretty hard. And so it was cool for me, I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid at my new job and get bought in, which I have to do with the way I work to really hit on all cylinders. So I'm excited about that.
That is cool.
Well, you're a passionate person, and we've heard hundreds of your stories, and they're it's just so many life experiences that you've had that's rough that you can tie to things that like worked
Life's
in
rough.
our field that we worked in, that you could tie that then helped us perform better or help lead our teams better.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So it was cool for me. I guess maybe to tie that into what you said then is like I felt like I was receiving that.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm still like uncertain, certain degree of fear. We got this economy that's kind of weird,
Right.
Unique economy. And so you're like, how am I gonna support my family?
I was gonna say you're probably blurring right now with you of like,
Yeah.
I want to help people, but I also need to be financially
Yeah.
taking care of my family. So
Yeah. Like, am I gonna have to start making crystal meth?
Yeah.
Because I don't even know how
I
to
don't
do
know how.
science.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
I watched Breaking Bad though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be that hard.
You just have to get a math teacher.
Yeah.
I don't know
Exactly.
Dude, Breaking Bad, quick story. That came out right when I don't remember the year, but it was right after I'd gotten crushed in real estate back in like 07-ish.
Yeah, right
I was
before the
still
crash.
still feeling, I don't remember the days Breaking Bad came out, but I was still feeling the effects of it. And I identified with that dude so much, especially season 1. And then I actually was genuinely sad as he slowly became a monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh, geez, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway.
hilarious.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
That is a good one. Okay. We're now going to jump into the conspiracy of the day. Feeling you want to kick that off for us?
Yeah. So topic is moon landing. Did it happen? Did it not?
What's your instant reaction?
Yeah,
I want to know.
yeah.
Before he jumps into anything, what do you believe?
So the hard part is that I've kind of I used to be 100% with on the moon, right?
Right.
As an adult,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I just my background, I studied economics, and then, you start getting into politics, you start seeing all this stuff. And so I think it's cool that we're starting with this one because this seems like a foundational one.
Right.
Yeah.
To where I'm at the point now where probably we went to the moon.
Probably.
And I don't have any evidence or reason to think that we didn't per se, right? Even though there's a ton of we'll talk about that.
Right.
But the thing that everyone needs to keep in mind is we had the ability and the motive to absolutely lie about it.
Yeah.
And so I would call it a 60-40-er.
Okay.
60-40.
I'm like 60% we went to the moon and 40% we didn't. But either way, we would lie about it. We're not,
Yeah.
We're not,
Okay.
and we being America or the
Yeah.
politicians or who knows what,
Yeah.
Right.
And so, would the astronauts lie? Yeah. Maybe they were lied to. I mean, there's so many ways that this could have been faked and perpetuated. Everyone's like, well, you can't keep a secret that long. Yeah.
It's like
there's literal videos of it isn't a secret. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of evidence. So anyway.
Well,
that's where I'm at.
they're military, tried and true military boys. Like,
Yeah.
they can keep
Patriotic.
a secret, like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
their country and national
Right.
thing. And like, I mean, and you have to look at yourself like, okay, like you're either on board or you're not, right?
Okay, where are you before?
Yeah. Okay. So, background: love astronomy, love space. I'm like if you guys remember, it's been a couple of years now. When the satellite passed Pluto,
Yeah.
I specifically made sure on my Hulu subscription that I had the NASA channel, so I could sit and watch it live.
Nerd.
Yeah, a little bit.
I say sick. I think it's cool. Travis is like, nah, nerd.
But
Beat him up.
so with that being said, I have always been of the opinion that we went to the moon, 100%.
Until
I met Felding. and then now I would say I'm probably a little bit more, I'm probably like a 70-30. 30% we faked it, 70% we went.
Okay.
So I'm pretty confident
So
that we
similar
went.
to me then.
Yeah, I would say
But
I'm a little bit
but
more
less.
confident
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we went.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where I'm at right now.
Well, I've known Fielding longer, so maybe there's a correlation there. So
It might be.
yeah,
COVID, because I had already subscribed to all this like conspiracy
Yeah.
stuff, because I love my whole thing getting into conspiracies was I loved that something that was so like concrete
Yeah.
as the
like
pyramids were built by the Egyptians.
Like my parents, like literally back. I mean, they couldn't even fathom that we would lie. Like
Right. And so you'd have people that are like, yeah, the pyramids, because I loved Egypt. I loved pyramids. That's what I did my senior project on. Like, it was awesome. But then you hear these people that are like, no, they didn't, like the slaves didn't build them. It was aliens. Or it was a civilization before, and the Egyptians just inherited. And that's why
That's
there's
where I'm
now
at
the
right now.
tombs, like all this other stuff. And I was like, how can something that's factually this thing have all these different perspectives?
and when you say concrete, it's like the pyramids. But it's not
They're
concrete, but it's
right,
rocks.
like we
literally
can
in
see
stone.
it, it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then there's all these different points of view on it. And so then it was like pyramids had like, all these different theories that I was really interested in. And then the next one was actually the moon, which was funny that
Wait, so your first was kind of the whole Egypt thing, then the moon.
yeah. And then the moon, and then it was like the moon is, so then there's like a ton of other theories about the moon. And that's why it's hard to like subscribe to like one thing, because there's so many different theories. So one is that the moon is a projection. So like what we are seeing is just like a projection that runs around. And so there's like film that people have up, and it shows, you can kind of see like this refresh rate roll across it, and different people, different angles with their cameras. And it's like a base that whatever civilizations live up there. Then there's another one where it's like a command center that was moved from a fleeing ancient civilization.
So it's like the Death Star,
Yeah. And there's a record of...
but the moon.
I'd have to like double check but there's like this record of like ancient civilizations that have record that they talk about when the moon showed up. So they have in their records that the moon didn't exist, and all of a sudden the moon showed up. And so they document when it was and all that stuff.
Would that be?
And so it's like, well, so this thing just like showed up, wasn't always there. Then there's another theory that all of the stars and moons and things are literally what the Bible describes. That you can't get to them. They're like the sun and the moon are here. The sun gives off light. The moon gives off lesser light. And that like stars and planets, things like that, are just like plasm things.
It's like a giant nightlight, like those ones you get your kids that like project everything onto the ceiling.
Yeah. So like there's so many different theories. There's one that I've learned recently that I think is pretty interesting. And there's this old world map of like from like China, and they have all the like continents and things. And it looks nothing like what we say like our world and stuff looks like. And then you take that map and you overlay it over the moon, and it like matches perfectly where like the craters are on the moon. It's just like that up there is like a glass thing that's reflecting. So when we look up and we see the moon, we're seeing like a reflection of like the continents and stuff. And so then you get into like, well, the sun is reflecting all, like there's just so many crazy theories that I like love all of it. And so then the moon landing one comes in where it's like, if it's...
Time out. Before you go to the moon landing, what do you think the moon is? What is Fielding?
tying me down to like an actual.
Yeah.
Because
Well, you can answer
because
that
I
you don't
subscribe
know.
to so many of them.
I mean, is it a satellite that's made out of some sort of earth, or not earth, but dirt or whatever?
Well, like the scientific theory right now that is widely accepted is some type of collision of another object hit the Earth, the moon broke off over, millions of years, coalesced into this new little satellite, now it orbits Earth, and that's what controls our ways and all that. Yeah. Anyways.
I think the moon is a sort of like space station, and I think it's a lot closer.
Like Moonfall.
To Earth.
The best movie.
It's the best
Ever
movie,
made.
the best Netflix original. Was it a Netflix thing?
No, it's like it went to theaters.
No, it
and
was a
everything.
legit movie.
It was a legit movie.
It actually had good special effects, and I have to say, I enjoyed it.
The funny thing
Not
is
bad, not bad.
this was one of those like I bought on Apple TV
But that's your thing.
and just pulled the trigger on.
Yeah.
And it was one where, like, because sometimes you do that and you're like, this could be like I might as well just wipe my butt with this $20 bill,
Yeah.
or it could be a win. Mm-hmm. But I always tell myself when I do that, I'm like, well, I'll probably forget about it, and 2 years later I'll watch it and watch it. It'll be like a brand new movie. So that's why I do it. But I got it and I was like, me and my wife watched it.
I remember you telling me
pretty
about
sick.
it.
Yeah.
You were like, "Hey, are you gonna watch this movie?" I was like, "Oh, I saw it on Netflix or whatever." I'm like, "I probably won't," and you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna spoil it then." And then you like told it to me, and I was like, "Dang, that does sound tight. I'm gonna watch it." And then I didn't watch it for like a year later, and then I was like, "Oh, there's that movie Daniel was saying." I watched it. Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I'm praying for a sequel.
Maybe
Win-win.
it'd be like Sunfall this time around.
Sunfall.
But I think that they're closer. Like the moon's like closer to us.
Than what they prescribe right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Like,
I think
what,
there's
300,000 miles or something like that is the
We can find out for
general.
sure.
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
of like how far away it is.
something like that.
Yeah. Because it took the astronauts, allegedly, 3 days to like get there, come back.
Which would be hauling the mail, but I guess
It's 238,900 miles.
okay.
Yeah, you're way off of your 300,000 guess.
Yeah, dude. It was a shot in the dark. Swing and a miss.
I think my son's
62,000 miles off.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I was going to say 177. I don't know why, but you're closer.
That's how many people
Oh,
get
I
into
was probably
heaven or
thinking
something.
kilometers.
That's 384. Either way, you're about the same
Probably
distance
off the
away.
wrong way.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
Crazy.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Cool.
but
So moon landing then.
yeah.
How does... Okay, first of all,
It'd be like
what do you think?
500,000.
If you were to give us a quick, your personal belief, and then let's dive into like why you think it's... Well,
Personal
I know
belief, I think we've been there. I don't think it happened when it happened. And so
it. Okay. That's more believable.
I think
See, I could adjust my ratios if that was. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way either.
Yeah.
there's a lot of like data that's like contradict, like the Van Allen
Those
radiation
are the
belt.
The belt. The
Yeah, that
I never
supposedly
heard
like we
that.
can't. So it's this basically like shell or this ring of radiation around the Earth that satellites, whatever, can't penetrate it.
Okay.
And so it's like a known thing. Scientists have talked about it. It's like it's a real thing, not like a conspiracy. Like
there's
point
like
of view.
papers on it that
Yeah.
talk about how we can't penetrate
we
it
can't
from like
penetrate
the 80s and 90s.
But yet, like the moon landing rover thing, like they went through it, and at the time they were like, "Well, how did you protect yourself from it?" And they're just like,
You just got lucky.
"Yeah,
They're like,
we just got lucky. We
What are you
taped
talking about?
we taped foil onto a coat hanger, and it protected us." So
Yeah.
yeah.
that was
So like,
close.
so there's like that stuff that's like, I don't know, like if they could get through or not or how, but I think like why they kind of how you were saying, like I get why they faked it. We were getting killed in the space race by Russia.
Russia.
Like
yeah.
our
Sputnik.
first, our like we weren't first at anything in space. I don't think we're definitely not the first satellite.
Satellite was Sputnik. The
the
dog.
cosmonaut, the dog, and then
They sent a dog.
Yeah, and then
They
Russia
sent. Then they
had-
sent something up. It might have been a dog or some sort of or monkey or something. Then they brought it back alive. I think was a stage.
How many times do you think they sent something up?
Oh, dude.
They may have had more
come
dry
back.
runs than we had because they don't care.
Yeah,
And they
about
just
that
don't
stuff.
say anything.
I mean, I don't know.
Comes
but
back, they're like, oh, we should have put air in it.
I've also thought of that too. Is like I don't know, like our perception.
How many
of,
dry runs have we done? Like,
yeah, exactly. And our whole perception of the Russians is like through the Rocky IV and
Right.
and Red Dawn, and they're just
Yeah.
inhuman monsters, and
Yeah.
we're like freaking the good guys.
Yep.
So it's like you don't know. Yeah, I think we've had probably some dry runs. They're like we've only sent 6 rockets and they all worked.
Yep. Yeah. That's a crazy thing to think about. So we went from like losing every other aspect of the space race
To absolute domination.
to not only did we go, they landed, and then we came back.
Yeah.
And then you can get into like the body language of the astronauts when they returned. Like, you've just done the coolest thing
Ever.
Yeah.
And they're at the press, like, and they're all just like,
Chilling.
you look like you just like lied to the public, and now you're having to face, and now people are this beautiful thing, and you're like,
It's a farce.
it's a farce, and I like feel so bad about it. But they're like, I mean, I can't remember. It wasn't Buzz Aldrin because he's kind of kooky now in his old age, so he'll like let things slip that people are like.
I do
oh,
like that he was
said-
willing to beat up that one guy that was challenging.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. So, and then it was Neil Armstrong, I think, who socked that
he
guy who
punched
was
someone.
like, "Hey, just put your hand on the Bible. Swear you landed on it. Like you went and did it. Like
Yeah.
just put your hand on the Bible. Like
Do it.
Yeah." And he was like, "Pow!" Like, it's like, well, okay.
Which was pretty impressive at his age. He had to be like, what, in his
Right,
80s?
yeah.
70s, 80s, and he just right hooks some dude.
But like
Pretty
being
cool.
that old, like that. So a couple things could be like, well, it's this huge thing that you accomplished, and people are like saying it never happened. So like you could be defensive about that.
Yeah.
Or you lied about it. It's not going away. And as more and more technology comes out and things come out, it's like becoming more and more obvious that maybe it was a fib, and you're so fed up about it. But just like a few weeks ago, my timeline's really bad. It could have been months ago. So I'll say a few weeks. When India, I think,
Yeah.
announced that they landed a
robot.
yeah,
right?
and then
yeah.
you saw the footage of it, and everybody's like, "Yeah, that's fake, like CGI,
Really?
like bad CGI stuff." And
Really?
it's like,
I didn't
like,
know. I didn't
have
hear
you
that.
watched it?
No.
I haven't seen
It
it.
is so fake looking.
We'll have to like B-roll it. Well,
Yeah, and so people are saying like, well, like the USA was fake too. Like they just did it better. And so India's doing it, which it's also
we had
drawing
Stanley
attention.
Kubrick.
But I don't
Right.
understand why
They had
India would-
Bollywood. They're like the robot started going, hey.
Yeah. Come out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna download this on iTunes.
It's just like some lady in a dress and she just has like a fishbowl on her
Yeah.
head.
Yeah. They're just like, dude, sick. Like, sign me up for that one. But yeah, so they did it, and it just looked fake. And so,
See that I don't understand. Why
That's-
would you go to the effort of even faking it at this point where it's like, what, 50 years?
that's
later?
in the day and age of like, well, is or the white hats in control, and this gets in the Q stuff. But it's like, well, are they showing that it's always been like that? But even like when the astronauts were landing on the moon, the newscasters and cable like they could only film a display of what NASA was sending through. So everything that you're seeing of all the landing, the takeoff, them on the
Right,
moon, all that
right.
stuff, that the reason it's so grainy is they filmed it on basically like a screen that NASA was sending through to them.
So it's like they were
So
recording
all
a recording
of
or
it,
something.
yeah, all of it was like a controlled
by NASA.
thing that came through.
See, here's the thing though. Like back in my call center days where I didn't really do much. Got paid though.
Hey, we've all
I
got those
watched-
good call center jobs.
Dude, I literally watched all of the footage that was like, I mean, granted, I went to NASA. I went on NASA's website and I'm like going through watching all of it. Some of it's pretty convincing. And that's the only
Yeah.
reason that makes me think that, like, okay, either A, they landed or they sent a probe or something, right?
I don't know, dude. I went on that Florida simulation ride at NASA where you're like in a rocket. It makes it feel like you're going up. My adrenaline was up. I was like, yo, this might be going to the moon.
That's another thing.
I think I'm in a seatbelt. But
That's
this
another
could be
thing
it.
they could have done to the astronauts.
Oh, 100%.
Made them
Psyop.
think.
Because that's the people that thing's like, well, you could never have that many people, and it's like all you'd have to have is a handful of people in on it.
And then kill them.
The
Well, and
people working on the computers, like
correlates.
doing that stuff, like the data, plugging numbers in and stuff, they could all just be plugging numbers.
Yeah.
And then somebody's telling you like they're this far away. Anyway,
No one knows what telemetry means.
yeah.
Let's face
the
it.
fact that they don't have,
Telemetry.
Talk about a psyop.
they don't. It's like, that man, now
They're like in this rocket ship. They're like,
like a Star Trek when it's like
yeah.
But
1, 2, 3.
yeah. Okay. Dude, that was so cool. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Okay. Telemetry.
Travis did a great
before
job
that.
there.
Oh yeah, thanks,
Okay.
dude.
Yeah.
The telemetry nonsense. That was a good one. They have lost the ability. This is what NASA said. They've lost the ability to recreate the stuff that got them to the moon.
What?
They've lost the math. So all that stuff, they've lost it.
I don't believe
And
that.
all the footage and stuff, they erased over it.
Okay, time out then. Because the person I hate the most, I don't hate him, but he's the most annoying person in the world, Neil deGrasse Tyson, is always like, he would like be like, well, people won't get their COVID shots, but we like took this spaceship and launched it and it touched down on this asteroid and then it returned and landed and now people won't trust the science. And I'm like, bro, one, COVID shots and rocket science are different.
Yeah.
And two,
Also, the pharmaceutical companies
we've
have been lying to us forever.
Yeah. Two, we've lost the ability to go to the moon.
Yeah.
So if you're not a Nazi, apparently,
Yeah.
you can't do math.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I mean,
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
You're running a like $1 billion space agency.
Yeah.
And you didn't
Not
even back
not
then, dude,
only
like
that,
even
not
putting
only
it in
that.
like a file folder in some vault.
In
well, dude, they lost
history-
JFK's brain, bro. I don't want to like get us on a freaking thing. But there's all this stuff like this where like our government is either mentally handicapped or
They're really smart.
they are just lying about
The
all this
recipe
stuff.
for KFC and the recipe of Coca-Cola, secret, tight,
Yeah,
locked in
they
a
got
vault.
it. They nailed it.
They've got it. They've got it.
They've drilled it.
But all of that stuff, our biggest
Yeah.
accomplishment,
Like all the
they don't have
notebooks
it.
that they figured the math to go to the moon is gone.
yeah,
Stored in some
didn't
place
know
with
that.
JFK's brain. And there's other things too. We should do some research on this because I remember seeing
impossible.
something where they talked about all the stuff that we've lost, and it's like, bro, there's no way we lost that stuff.
yeah. And you look at, so somebody went and took
The $7 billion for the World Trade Center or whatever that they were
No
like, we lost
joke.
that money.
Okay.
that Rumsfeld.
This is on.
We lost that nuclear weapon. I don't believe that's lost.
Yeah.
I don't believe any of that stuff's
No,
lost.
no.
We
Okay.
didn't lose a nuclear weapon, dude.
So check this out. On Forbes,
We
has
sold
to
it.
be a reliable source.
Yeah.
December 11th, 2015, NASA stated we lost the ability to travel to the moon. Okay,
that right there
blows my mind.
is just like,
Bro.
yeah, that's fishy.
This is what my kids would say. They'd be like,
It's just like, hey, don't ask us about this ever again.
my kids would be like, bruh.
Bruh.
That's all that needs to be said about that. That's so dumb.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and it works. And then it also even works on me in this way. What am I going to do about it? So then I'm like,
Nothing.
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm just going to sit in my bed at night, lay on my pillow, and be like,
That's where the things
do I
like,
even live in the United
I
States?
know.
oh, dude, that's the bet. You start going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like,
Who am I?
I've never been to space.
like-
I don't know what Earth looks
I'm
like. I
filling
don't
the back of my head for like the plug-in, like the port.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I'm starting to do. I remember like when COVID first
Oh, man.
happened and
Like-
everybody like restricted us. You couldn't travel. And so we were at the same branch for months. And I remember there was some point where you were like, timeout. How do I plug back into the matrix?
Yeah.
I don't want to know this stuff anymore.
yeah.
And it's hard once you kind of wake up and see things like how silly that
Yeah.
comment is by NASA. They're like, oh, we lost the ability to go back.
Yeah.
But now we're going to Mars and it's real. And it's like,
And then also Elon,
okay.
who I love Elon, but I also love it. It's like, we've lost the ability to go to the moon. And it's like, well, actually, Joe, it's quite simple to go to Mars.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just, he's like,
The hard part is coming back, and you have to.
Yeah,
Get
then you
this.
just launch a nuke and it becomes livable.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
So then get this. So we said what the moon was 238,000 miles
Right,
or something
right.
like that away from Earth. We can't do that, but we can go to the moon, and that's only
no, Mars.
Oh, sorry, Mars. Yeah, where we can go to Mars, and it's only 236 million miles away.
Yeah.
Dude, that's like the difference
like
between
10
shooting
orders of
someone
magnitude.
point blank and then shooting like a bullet into the air and 2-3 miles
hitting
away
into Linden.
hitting a bullseye.
Hitting at Fielding's branch.
Yeah. Yeah.
New branch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like,
no way.
Hey.
no way. I don't. Yeah,
Something's up.
yeah.
I
That's
don't
so
think Elon's
fishy.
lying. I think that he at least believes that the math is possible.
right.
Well, then you look at like, I mean, there's a ton of stuff in with like Elon, and I have a hard time because I want him.
To not be a CIA
to
agent.
be
Yes, yeah.
to be the president of the United
I
States.
don't want him to be a plant. I want him to be a good guy. I like the things he says, but that's also like, he could also be, I mean, he was primed to come in and take Twitter, right? They made everybody aware of how garbage Twitter was being ran.
Yeah.
And then he came in and he bought it. He's this hero, and he fired 90% of the staff, and it's still working just fine.
And he's like, it's really amazing how much less staff you need.
Yeah.
When you're, and everyone's like, dude, I love what he said.
Yeah, and it's like I
almost
want
too good.
I want him to be like.
I also think
good
it's
guy.
weird how Elon is like in everything, right?
Yeah.
because okay,
You
going
want to
down.
dig a hole? Elon.
Yeah, yeah, we could go down all the way down from like when GameStop and AMC had their pumps and the prices went up. People were making money.
Mm-hmm.
There was even in the Reddit threads in AMC. There was even like this whole thing that happened for like 2 weeks where it was like Elon Musk just sold like billions and like, or it wasn't billions, probably millions of dollars of Tesla, and now he's got some cash liquidity, and now guess what he's gonna do, guys? He's gonna buy AMC, and it's gonna moon because Elon is gonna stick it to all the hedge fund managers, and so then everyone's like sitting there just like salivating over the idea of Elon Musk taking us to the moon in a financial way, and
I'm still hoping. My money's still in AMC, bro.
Yeah, same here.
It will moon eventually.
It will.
Yeah, it'll happen. But that's the thing is like he's like everywhere. I don't know. He has an impact on everything, everywhere, all the time.
Right.
It's crazy.
It's like, right. Like,
That's another
is
conspiracy
he
theory
doing
we should
that?
jump into.
That's like a side.
Yeah.
There's so much different topics and things, but
when we're talking about moon landing, you are talking. He's got the science to go to Mars, apparently.
yeah,
Enough to get investors, build rockets,
Yeah.
launch them, have them land on barges or whatever, or maybe that's
It is impressive.
So he's doing. You know what I mean? It's a big con. It's a pretty big con to develop a rocket that can land on its end, just to say I could go to Mars when I can't. But then meanwhile, we're like, we can't go to the moon.
Well, the reason, or
huge
not
gap.
the reason, but what they say is, so how better, right? Like if I'm NASA and I'm in bed, I mean, this goes back to like Operation Paperclip, which when I was growing up was a big conspiracy that they brought over Nazi scientists and like,
Which,
you were stupid
if you want to watch a
thought that
dope
was,
show about
like,
that,
true.
have you seen Hunters on Amazon? Let's throw it out there.
No.
Oh, dude, that show. Yeah.
It's good.
is
Anyway,
Okay.
we won't go into the rabbit hole. But
So that
Hunters
was like,
on Amazon.
a conspiracy that they brought over Nazi scientists and now they run NASA and it's blah, 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 blah. And then later that came out that that's true.
Which
and
is basically true.
Yeah. It's
and so now they don't deny it anymore. There's all the documents that show it. And so we brought over these scientists, right? We helped them like get set up. They then helped us develop rockets and things. And so then
What a
you
good
have all
deal
these
for them,
photos of NASA and Disney. I can't think of the guy's name. Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And they're like in on a bunch of projects together, which is like, well, here's a studio guy.
Well, and you got that one with
that?
Kubrick walking through the
Stanley
NASA,
Kubrick, yeah,
walking through the thing with like a light meter.
Yep.
I mean,
It's a lot of stuff that seems odd. And so then you look at it where, okay, NASA is getting like trillions of dollars. And where is that going?
and producing almost nothing.
Well, we're going to space, right? And so they're showing us videos of rockets and things being launched. And as like taxpayers, we're just like, okay, like,
but,
yeah.
but sidebar, most of the rockets, from my understanding, are the Russian. I don't remember what it's called. They're built by the
Oh,
former
yeah.
Soviet Union. And there's even Elon says they're still the best rocket ever
Yeah,
made.
yeah. You
So
want to go
we've
down
spent trillions of dollars,
yeah.
and the bankrupt, crumbling empire still has the best rocket. It was designed in the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where like there's so much money being siphoned off the top of it that's why
I
it
want
makes
some of it.
sense. And then as a kid, like growing up,
Let's not even
I'm
get into that.
similar to Daniel. Like when you made fun of him for the Pluto thing, I was like, dope. Like that's awesome. I love like outer space. I want it to be this cool thing. But I also get they could create this picture for us that's really.
Dude, now I honestly
And so then you're
feel
like, oh, they're millions and millions of dollars. And there was recently a senator or some Congress guy who brought it before, like, I don't know how the court systems work. I'm an idiot. But it was like, he brought it before and he was like, NASA owes us like trillions of back taxes because they've been lying to us. And he went through and showed how like
oh my
they've
gosh.
not delivered anything. They've got truckloads of money that they can't say where it goes. It just.
But where would it go? Like, where do you think it went? Because that's crazy to me. Like,
it just
trillions.
Well, it probably
siphons
starts
off-
companies like Twitter.
Yeah, it
probably
goes
starts
back
companies like
into like there's this whole like
the
I don't wanna get
WMF.
into
It
that.
probably builds irrigation systems in like Rwanda that then give them
Yeah.
political power over
It
whatever. It
arms-
builds
yeah.
a dam in wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all going.
And then
it's
all of those companies, all those countries and people
It's
owe
like-
that. So now
Yeah.
this thing that didn't exist took that money, lent it out. They owe them. If they don't pay them, then we go destroy them with the U.S. military.
yeah.
So it's basically all black projects.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
money
and
being
then-
siphoned to these black projects to control.
And then the
Yeah,
Freedom of Information Act changed that now they're not government projects anymore. Now they're all private companies that do
Because now
things.
you can't do a what is it, a FOIA. You can't do a FOIA on a private company.
Yeah, so I can't go to like I don't know, some company, Lockheed Martin,
Yeah.
and be like, "Hey, your like weapons were found in Iraq. Like, what's up with that?" Like,
And don't get me
it's
started
a
how like
private
Tony
company.
Stark is like makes us want to like those companies.
Yeah,
Even though I kind of said, that his bomb blew up in Iron
there's
Man.
a whole like.
I mean, Hollywood is a total shill to.
They're
telling us the truth.
Yes.
They really are telling us obviously the truth, in my opinion. And
Right.
then we're like, that's Tony
Dude,
Stark,
we're gonna have
man.
to.
He's freaking hilarious.
We're gonna have to spend an entire episode on Iron Man 3.
I'll do a breakdown of Iron Man
Oh,
3.
man, dude.
And
When I
how
watched
it
that,
perfectly fits
Yeah.
side by side with Al Qaeda,
Bin Laden.
Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's
Yeah.
nuts.
Dude, I remember watching that. No joke. The first time it came out, I'm sitting in the theater. I'm watching it, right? Because I'm totally into all the Marvel stuff like everybody else. And I'm sitting in the theater, and I'm like,
Not me.
I'm done with Marvel, but I used to be into it.
yeah, no, I agree. I'm the same now. But at the time when it was all coming out,
I can't keep up.
oh, battery low. Okay, hold on. We're going to take a break, and we're going to switch batteries really quick. All right, hold on. Okay,
All right.
back from the break.
And Fielding was going to talk about.
No,
Daniel was going to talk
Yeah.
about Marvel.
Yeah, so
In
I'm
our last
literally-
like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
do all this to wrap
I'm
up.
literally in the theater and I'm watching, and there's like the part, I don't know if you remember the movie, where they like go to this like super extravagant like mansion or something. They go inside, and here's the terrorist who's an actor with these chicks, and he's like, they like kick the girls out or whatever, and they're like interrogating him. And dude, I'm like sitting there watching this part, and I'm like, okay, so the terrorist is an actor. He's not even real. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
this seems sketch. I'm like, dude, it was like, in my mind, I was like putting it together, like, okay, so this is how the U.S. government is probably operating in more ways than one.
You guys want a little spoiler alert? Look up who Tim Osman is. He worked for the CIA.
Tim Osman? Mm-hmm. All right. That's probably another one we're going to have
Is
to
he the one that they say didn't work for him?
Yeah, you should go look him up.
All right. Can you spell it?
Tim, Tim, Osman. Probably like how you spell Donnie.
Like
Osmond.
Donnie Osmond?
It's Osmond. Timothy H. Osmond. I believe.
Tell me if
that's
you
the
think
right
he looks
one.
like somebody.
Unless it's a different, it's probably a different Tim.
He looks like Tony Stark.
Tim Osmond. I don't know. We'll dig into it. I think it's Osmond. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Because it pulled up some CIA Osama bin Laden stuff, so it's gotta.
Yeah.
This has gotta be the right one.
That's it. But are you finished with your Marvel?
Yeah. No, I
Okay,
was just saying,
so
it was crazy.
one thing I just want to show you guys a clip that for me, and then you can slice it on. For me, is like it was like the nail in the coffin on the moon thing.
Okay.
And again, your theory is we did get there, but not 1969.
Not these guys. Not Buzz Aldrin. Not
the Apollo missions.
yeah.
Okay.
Because you have like
Not Tom Hanks.
yeah, you have Gus Grissom.
Tom Hanks went to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought he went
Yeah,
around
they
the
did
moon.
He heard there was a bunch of young children up there. Ew.
That will be cut out for our YouTube fans. But if you look up, yeah, we splice all that. That's hilarious.
I actually don't believe that one, but I
It's
think it's funny that for
hilarious.
a while,
It's
like
hilarious.
this, like Tom Hanks is the devil. I'm like,
Dude, he still can't be like on Twitter and stuff. He still any comment he makes, that's all people comment.
I don't get.
That's
anyway,
hilarious.
We'll have to talk about it because I actually don't believe that one at all. But it caught fire anyway.
Well,
go
then
on.
there's other theories that like he's actually like he was one of the first people that like turned and is helping clean house and doing all this stuff. So who knows?
in a good way. You mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why when COVID first happened and he was like silent and all of his videos looked like he was coming from like
That would make
a
sense.
jail
Then they
cell,
would try to destroy
that.
him.
Then they're like,
Smart.
we just need to talk to Tom. Like, what's he doing? I want to know how he's okay. And it's like because they all knew they got him, and that he's like probably singing. Anyway,
Okay.
So before this is probably edited in before, I don't know. Should have said this earlier. Before you had Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong,
Right.
and that other brave guy nobody ever.
The guy that didn't land on the moon. No one cares.
Yeah, no
That
one
guy.
cares. He's the third guy.
Can you imagine that?
That's if they went to the moon, though.
So close.
So before those three astronauts, they had like they were Team B. Team A was Gus Grissom and like
Right.
a couple, I don't know if I'm saying the Gus name, but it's like something like that.
Sounds like a fighter pilot name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
sounds
he was very outspoken against NASA. He's like, these guys are going to get us killed. The tests that they're running, like this is a joke of a place because they're like actual fighter pilots, and so they're like
They
these
understand
things-
what precision
These things are
and-
this place is going to get us killed. They've got all these letters back and forth, and he's like, I'm backing out. We're blowing the whistle on this thing. This thing's ridiculous.
Right.
Writes a letter home. Dies. His entire crew.
They burned up,
They
right?
burned up
Yeah.
in a test thing that the door handle jammed and nobody could open it.
I've
and they
never
just
heard
burned,
this.
And they just burned alive.
You not heard this?
And then who steps in cleanly? Them good old what's that?
What?
Handshake secret place?
The
Masonic, yeah, Masonic. Buzz Aldrin, Mason, and Buzz Aldrin. These guys step in, and nothing but smooth sailing
Yeah.
out of NASA.
So
Nailed it.
January 27th, 1967, fire swept through the Apollo 1 command module during
I
a
have heard
launch
that, but I
rehearsal
didn't know about
test,
the letter.
Yeah.
tragically killing 3 astronauts, Gus Grissom,
Oh, I was right.
Ed White, and Roger Cafe.
What?
Yeah.
And so Gus Grissom's family, as another thing you look into, they've sued NASA. They're like, what really happened? Like, he was outspoken against it. You guys killed him. You need to prove that you didn't kill him. And it's like an ongoing thing because like they can't just like definitively prove that like Because Gus had all this stuff of like reasons of why they
Right.
would. Anyway,
Dude,
let me
that's
pull up this
insane.
video. That's not it. That's the side thing I should have talked about
Yeah.
before they.
Can you imagine, a day in the office and you're like, this place sucks, and then hey, how's it going? And you're at the freaking getting some coffee with your coworkers, and then you hop in a thing and that guy burns you to death.
Yeah.
Truck comes driving
and
through
also
the building,
because
kills
he
you.
has to, because the CIA's like, we'll kill you and your family if you don't. And I mean,
Dude, I bet
don't
you
know.
that stuff happens way more often than
I don't know, man. Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
if you can imagine it, it's probably happened. And I don't know, that's kooky.
Sketchy.
I can't believe that happened.
That's sketchy, huh?
Okay, so this is like it's maybe like a 5-minute clip. So buckle in for like watching it for a second.
Okay.
So they were doing they requested reels and stuff from NASA, this show. They're doing documentaries on him, and they were sent the wrong reel.
Shut up.
Because they lost the math.
Yeah.
And then
So-
also sent the wrong reels.
Hard drives get mixed up.
Like,
and
So-
thumb
we're the
drives.
kings of the universe and we're evil, but we also
Yeah.
are incompetent.
They're probably
So-
using floppy disks. Here's
so
the wrong
to, like,
floppy.
To spoil it for you guys, what you're gonna see is they're saying that they're like a day from when they walked on the moon, or they were a day from when they walked on the moon,
Right.
And they're saying they're X amount of miles away from the Earth, but really they've turned out everything inside the space module, and they're low Earth orbit. And so they're dicking around with the window pane to make it look like the Earth and a shadow, and then they turn all the lights off, and then they tell you that outside is the blackness of space, and we've got the camera pressed up against the window, and this is what you're looking at. But really it's not. And you look at the photo now and you're like, we've seen like NASA's photos of like Earth. Why don't we see continents? Why don't and the clouds are obviously really close. Anyway, so that's what you'll watch. It's about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then for this thing on the podcast, we can like cut it down.
Yeah, you're good.
Apollo 11, Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger, we're ramming in on Earth.
Again, the illusion they are attempting to create is the Earth at a distance to demonstrate their far journey
that does not look
and
like
their ability to survive
Right.
what we've
passing
seen as
through
Earth.
Van Allen radiation belts. Understand too that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private.
It looks like Star Trek
Until
came up
now.
on like planet
Here they
Venusian
discuss that
X.
these
Right,
television
right.
transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed.
It's like when Star
They were
Trek,
first screened
when people
and
would like
edited
disappear, they
for
put like
playback later.
glitter in a glass and just like.
We just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get to playback, we can sort of correlate what we're seeing. Thank you very much.
Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows, as to not cause any reflected light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in from the other into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance.
Yeah, 'cause it looks
with the
oblong.
darker
It doesn't
point of
look
the
like-
spacecraft appearing to be the blackness
But they
of
figure it
space
out.
around it.
They're geniuses.
That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows.
Because the weird thing looking at it too is the clouds are
Here you can see
huge.
the
Right.
extruded window, probably 2 inches thick at the bottom. This is because the Earth's shine is coming in at a downward angle. It also causes the Earth to appear to be an irregularly shaped circle, for you are seeing the outside of the window at the bottom and the inside of the window at the top, which together
it's
form
thick.
two different
Yeah.
sized halves of a circle. Subsequently, this take was never used. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. During this segment, intended to be edited and played back later for the worldwide television audience.
So then they
dated
definitely
July
altered it. Even if that other one was a
1969.
real picture
Yeah.
of the
Neil
Earth.
Yeah.
Armstrong condemns himself
It was
as he
certainly
states
altered.
that he is 130,000 miles out, or halfway to the moon, as the NASA flight log also states on this date.
If you think about that, though, looking at the size of those clouds, if you were to say that cloud, dude, that cloud would cover the
That's what
entire
they do.
United States.
So that's what they're saying. We're pushed against the window. But people see what they want to see. Like,
also intended
Yeah.
to air after review, Neil Armstrong falsely explains to the viewers how the shot is attained by putting the camera's lens to the window's glass, as it would have to be if they were the claimed distance away from the Earth.
We only had one window that has a view of
See, those
the Earth,
clouds look
and it's
huge.
filled up with the TV
That doesn't
camera.
make sense.
If the window was completely filled up with a TV camera, as he stated, then an astronaut's arm would not be able to get between the camera and the window, as it obviously does here in this outtake.
South America becomes invisible just off.
Oh no!
So
You
what?
can also notice how the astronaut operating
Could you imagine
camera
being the
reacted to the mistake
the
by
low-level
attempting
employee
to
at
pan
NASA
away.
that provided them the wrong footage?
dude, a freaking Samaritan in there, like, trying to do the right thing. So you see him adjust, and there's even a
This is
thing where they
segment
turn the
that they
light
believed
on.
wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being
Oh, yeah.
changed to
See
that of
them.
an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice. Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall.
Oh my
Here
gosh!
they remove part of the crescent
Dude.
insert.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Dude, I've never seen this. This
Yeah.
is insane.
Finally, the iris is opened up, and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth.
oh my gosh! So it literally, we were watching that whole thing for almost no reason. At the end,
Of July,
it's obvious.
and the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
shot of trickery
So
on
that-
the
so-
19th of July.
Whoa! And so time out,
And then the
Fielding.
20th. And the
So then
same
they
Well, so
keep-
what is that woman? What's her theory about why? So they are in space
They're low Earth orbit because that's as far as anybody can
as
go.
anybody can go, and they're
So they're faking it to put America first.
Bro.
To snuff out the Russians.
How have I never seen that before?
I've never seen that before either.
And another thing too.
Is that
if
just
you
on
research-
YouTube?
Yeah. It's called.
Of course it is.
It's called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. It's like 45 minutes. She talks about the Gus Grissom thing.
Maybe they just forgot to get good footage. I did that the other day. I was with my kids and we were doing some fun stuff, and I drove away and I was thinking I should have taken more footage.
I'll just fake it.
I'll just fake it terribly.
Yeah. Yep. So
Oh
that's where I'm like,
Gosh.
okay, so they obviously weren't, and then you get into other like
Honestly-
you get into other theories of like, you know, you see astronauts doing spacewalks and you see like bubbles float up for them, and NASA has this huge underwater green screen that they've talked about and they've shown so everybody knows
Right.
it's there, but then they try and pretend it doesn't. But then you also have theories that like the way that the Bible says the earth was created, they separated the waters above and below. And so like what they're going into is like another ocean. And so that's why when astronauts are in space, quote unquote, there's bubbles, and astronauts even talk about water getting into their spacesuit. And it's like, how is that possible
when you're in a vacuum.
unless what our world is not really
You're going
what-
too far for
Okay,
me right
okay,
now,
I'll
dude.
pause, I'll
Yeah,
pause, I'll
my
pause,
head's
I'll pause.
starting.
I mean, I'm
I'll
like
pause.
seriously. So
That was enough.
so this is
That was
interesting
enough for
because
tonight.
we decided to talk about the moon because to basically practice our skills at
True.
podcasting since we
Right.
have none.
Yeah.
Yep.
And because it would be a simple thing. That is blowing my mind right now because as I think about it, there cannot be another reason.
Right.
I mean, that is crazy town.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing that makes me think, like I was having this thought as we were watching that little video that
You
Phil
keep talking.
just showed us.
Show another little clip.
That if you think about the extent of time and editing and putting that together to be able to fake the world out, right? That they're super far away from Earth. Like what else?
On the other hand too, Daniel, they're like, hey, let's fake this. Like Russia's watching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the way they fake it is also so nonchalant. They're just like,
yeah,
everyone is stupid.
Yeah.
And they were right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that's why like
that is.
So that's why you have.
Dude.
When they come back,
my percentages have changed. We can review.
Yeah, we're going to review this. Yeah, mine have too.
So then.
That perhaps the reason Neil Armstrong
Well, she has got an awesome accent.
On-camera interview is because he doesn't want to lie anymore. What threats may have been made upon?
Because that's why you see them at that press conference, and they all look like defeated people. I mean, you go back and your wife tells you what amazing person. You're a hero. They parade you around, and you're just like. We just went up, and then there's other theories
cognitive dissonance
that rockets aren't real, that they just were up on hot air balloons basically, and that's what is holding them, and so they're just up in a big balloon, and that's what that's another whole that satellites are balloons.
The cognitive dissonance of that would be intense.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because you think about it, like these guys, like before they entered NASA, these were like the cream of the crop as far as like.
Americans,
fighter
good
pilots.
old boys,
they were test pilots,
men.
Flying like military jets that like
what they did mattered.
Yeah,
right. It was high stakes,
and then all of a sudden you get roped into a psyop.
Now
that's
that forever they have to
lie for the rest of their life.
Okay, that YouTube video is called what again? The one that just blew my mind.
A strange thing happened on the way to the moon.
A strange thing happened on the way to the moon.
I'm going to watch it.
It's about 45 minutes. It's
worth
a good
it.
watch. Goes into a lot of stuff. It's not like there's some videos that are like, oh, check out how fake this is. They're just saying hey, here's
they're
what
so
we're
nonchalant
seeing.
about it.
That's what bothers me about it.
Right. I like that she wasn't really making conclusions.
No, she's just
observing.
Here's this. Here's what they're stating.
I love how it kind of progresses. It's like, well, this looks a little, it's not perfectly round. And then at the end...
they turn the lights on.
They just turn the lights on.
Like, oh my gosh.
And you're like, oh, what was that first 5 minutes I just watched?
It's like you just looked under the curtain at the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm like,
it's just a guy.
I'm like, I mean, I guess there could be another explanation for the oblong window. And they're like, nope, lights on.
Click.
They're like, yeah. Jeez.
Oh my god.
Well, then you have that, and then it's like
it's insane.
Okay, well then you've got the Titanic. You have 9/11. You have so many other things.
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Well, and you had and you think of the news channels, it's like you had 4 channels.
Right. How easy to control the narrative.
And you just tell those guys, do you want this cush job and to be Dan? Do you want to be Dan Rather? Yeah, I'd like to be Dan Rather. Okay, this is what you do. And I can just see. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I can see myself doing it.
Yeah.
Travis,
That's the hardest thing.
Do you want to live in this cushy life? All you got to do is just tell these little lies, and they're gonna help America, bro.
Yeah.
Do you hate America?
Yeah.
I mean, I can hear the freaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In your mind, you're like, well, I freaking love America, and Russians are bad. I mean,
communism.
Obviously,
to me, that's the biggest thing. Is probably the aftermath that we're like, dude, these probably got millions of dollars. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it's just we're just not gonna kill you and your family.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
or even worse, they psyop them, or not even psyop them, but they convince them in a way that it's like, are you a patriot of this country?
Yeah.
Do you love America? Do you want us to fall to the Russians?
Yeah.
No. And we need you to do this because you are the patriot. You are the best of us.
You're a hero. The
Yeah.
real hero is lying.
Yes.
So
Oh
now-
my gosh, dude.
and so
that makes
then,
sense.
then they're just like, and then they're having to face everybody. I think that'd be so hard.
Well, that's like you think about like when Neil Armstrong like punched that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think a lifetime of like, and then now it's starting to become, you know, everyone's starting to now like peek under the curtain a little bit of like what's going on behind the scenes, and people want to talk about it. It's becoming more and more mainstream that people are accepting the fact that there's so much.
Okay, I was going
happening.
to share this with you guys. That girl that she's kind of a pretty girl and she's doing Snow White with like the that really conservative what's the group with Ben
Shapiro.
and those guys. They have the what's their company called?
Daily Wire.
The Daily Wire, and they're doing a Snow White version, and they're doing it with Brett Cooper. She's like she's super cute. She puts her headphones on, and she's a conservative woman, and she'll watch clips and be like, "Oh, that's dumb that they're so liberal or whatever."
Yeah.
Right.
Even she just on the side of one of her videos was like, "Well, obviously the moon landing's faked, and it wasn't like that was her point. She's
It's just matter of fact.
matter of fact,
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Right.
probably faked or something she said like that, and then just goes to this other topic, and I'm like, so in my life, I remember people saying it was fake, and I'm like, they hate America,
Well,
and now I'm like,
I was old enough when 9/11 happened. Like I was an adult in high school. Like you're not high school, but junior high, like watching the towers fall and that emotionally and what that felt like. So then to be able to be like, wait, that was like what? How did that play out? That's hard. So I imagine like, yeah, you're like inspired. They went to space. Like these guys are heroes, and then you have to like look at it in a different light. And that's where like the cognitive dissonance comes. People don't want to see that. So they'll look at that crappy thing with the clouds that are massive and go, yep, that's the camera pushed up against the window. They're like, you know, however far away.
and it has to be the camera pushed up against the window, just like they told me, or baseball isn't America's favorite pastime.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, I get it. I mean, this is why we call this connect the dots, because I don't know.
Yeah,
I just had some dots connected in my brain, and I'm probably going to sit there and think about this for a while, which is weird because this was supposed to be our boring like launch into like conspiracies, and now I'm like going,
Yeah.
and probably here's the thought I had driving over today, and then I will be quiet and I'll be done for the night. Probably all of these things are related, because I don't think that you develop these skills of faking the moon landing and organizing Dan Rather and John Glenn and all these people into this lie, and then that's your only gig.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the next gig is, how do we get people to abandon the gold standard and accept fiat currency, and how do we get Iran to, you know, allow us to come in and exploit their oil and overthrow their government. And it's all, you know, so freaking good kickoff, in my opinion. That was cool, and I would love to see some peripheral names around this. Like, is there a smoking man that is literally like just kind of like through the, I don't know.
I think so, and I won't say the names, but I think there is a prominent person in our history that you can tie a lot of these events to. And is he like the head person? I don't think so. Not a chance.
He's probably just the operator.
He's the operator, and he was a good operator, and he has operated for a long, long time.
God.
Yeah, let's not say names. I want to. I'm
I won't, because
joking.
I also
no
want,
one's gonna watch this.
But
yeah, let's just stay safe.
I want to do it for a long time, but I want to like connect dots, and that's the whole thing. It's like see where it's like, yeah, there's a picture or lines of stuff that has happened, and then hopefully like in the future when things happen, but like we won't be bamboozled so easily,
Right.
So
and that
crazy.
we won't believe the lies that distract us fighting each other, like the whole like election stuff with race wars and gender wars and all these crazy things that are like people get so passionate about.
Yeah.
Ultimately, is there Illuminati? Don't know. Maybe we'll figure out, and I'll connect the dots. But I do believe there's evil,
Yeah.
and the evil is coordinating some of this. even if the participants don't know it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Well, and
Wow.
I think that's what this is going to be. This is why this is going to be so much fun. Because there's a lot of like conspiracy stuff that I hear like, and I'm just on the like outer edge of it, right? Like peeling the layers of an onion. And like tonight, like on the moon landing,
like on the moon,
like,
I'm flipped over now.
Yeah, yeah.
I am more.
So you want to
What
go
would you
through
say you
and
are?
say
You were
your-
60
yeah.
40.
I was 60. I'm probably 60-40 still, and now I'm 60%. We didn't go, and maybe even more. That video was freaking crazy to me.
To me, that's
Yeah.
pretty
They're certainly
damning.
lying. They are certainly lying.
Yeah.
Right.
And then why would they lie? Ineptitude that they forgot to film it and wanted it, and then
Yeah.
so let's just fake it. Like like one of them's like, I did this in film school. I just hold the or something, or they never were there.
After
And it's one of those two things, and it seems more likely that it would be we were never there, but we have a good way to fake it.
right.
There's other stuff with the Challenger disaster that
Yeah.
same exact thing, and there's evidence.
I watched that live.
See, so that's an example of something that's like cognitive dissonant. You probably
Yeah.
have heard the same stuff.
I was in
and you're
Mr.
like, it can't be real. I watched that happen. My
Yeah.
heart.
I was in
broke for those
Mr.
families.
Mr. Mullen's 6th grade class. They rolled
Shout out to Mr. Mullins.
Yeah, Mr. Mullen. He
He's maybe still
they
alive.
rolled
Yeah,
they
I don't know.
they
It's possible.
rolled a TV in. He was like 5-6 years ago. They rolled a TV in. I mean, I remember it, and we're watching.
They're so
it.
hyped because there's a teacher on it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and we're in class, and I'm literally watching it, and it blows up, dude. So, I mean,
Yeah.
freaking telling me that didn't
spoiler
happen?
alert! Everybody that was on that is okay, and they've lived lives, and they just all the astronauts conveniently had twin. That's really the shortcut. Is they all conveniently had twin siblings that have the same name and last name and are.
and drive to Florida wearing a diaper. You remember that one? That astronaut that went nuts and drove. I'm sure it ties into some of this stuff because she like had a date or something. She drove from Texas to Florida but didn't want to stop, so she wore a diaper and it made the national news. And I'm like, she probably had a freaking.
Yeah.
She probably went like too much pressure.
Yeah.
Another psyop.
Dude, all right.
Well, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna connect the dots. We're gonna have more of this.
We got to edit out a lot of nonsense.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Or not.
Or not.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for being here, you guys.
All right.
This is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. And we'll be back with more.
It's weird to end it because like, how do the people end it? I don't feel like.
They say stuff like, "Hey, smash that like button. Pound that rumble." But I don't know if you do pound. Maybe hit it.
I don't know.
Smack it. Smack that rumble button.
Let's just do this. Let's just
Hit
go.
like on my
You hang
Facebook
up.
page. No, you hang up.
Oh,
You hang up. No, you.
Just fade out.
Yeah. Fade to black.
I like that.
Love it. Okay.
Dude, that was
Sweet.
fun.